Hey guys, John Gums here with a couple great South Dakota coaches here. We got Kansas head coach Jeremy Swenson and Chamberlain's head coach John Donovan. Some great guys. We're going to talk some wrestling. We're going to talk about their teams, and we're just going to have a little fun. Just a quick introduction of myself, and then I'll have you guys introduce yourself. Again, those that are new to Dakota Grappler, I am John Gums. They call me the Dakota Grappler. Done this for 20 years for both North and South Dakota. Started this book actually, that's how it kind of just went to this. I used to coach in Mobridge, South Dakota, and loved it. And I was doing a little book for my own team, getting pictures and stuff. And I decided to, guess what, do the whole state. And I thought somebody like Gilman down in Parkston, he could do a little bit better is what I thought in my mind, or I could do better. And I wanted to compare myself to something like that. So I give John some credit for getting me going down there in Parkston. But then other than that, just have continued on, love the sport, and that's why I'm here tonight. Here to interview two guys, so I'm going to have Jeremy introduce himself, and then I'll have John after that. Jeremy, take it away.
I'm Jeremy Swenson, one of the co-head coaches at CAN with Coach Jeremy Asp.
Okay. Tell me before I get to John, what was the first time you stepped on a mat? How old were you?
5.
5
years old.
5 years old. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't win my first youth tournament until I was second grader.
And who got you into your sport? Was it a family thing, or did the coach grab you? Or?
My dad was the youth wrestling coach.
Okay. And where at?
Petersford and then in Canton.
Okay. So how many years have you been in Canton?
We moved to Canton my 4th grade year.
Okay.
Since 4th grade. I'm over 40, so.
For a while.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, John, I'll let you now introduce yourself.
I'm John Donovan. I'm the head wrestling coach in Chamberlain, South Dakota.
Okay.
I guess I've known John Gum since, he might not have known me, but I yet wrestled at University of Mary.
Yep, I remember you.
In 1987. And
the first
John
year of University of Mary wrestling.
You were in high school, I believe.
Yep.
And Milo Trusty used to bring Troy and Terry Steiner out, and those guys were my wrestling partners my freshman year in college. Took many a beating from those two.
While they were in high school yet.
Yes, while they're in high school yet.
It's crazy how that is.
Yep.
In fact, our coach, we beat ourselves up so bad in the room that he decided, I don't know when you got the volume up a little bit high, but he decided that, guess what, as long as it's legal, if the college would allow us to come up there, we would trade off about once a week going up to BSC to the junior college, which had a very good wrestling team at that time.
Yes, they did.
Bismarck State College, and then at that time, BJC, Bismarck Junior College. And then we'd go out to Mary about once every couple of weeks during the wrestling season, just so we didn't beat each other up so bad. And we were actually a very small team my senior year. There were 13 weight classes in 87, 88. And that 87, 88 team, we had 17 wrestlers is all on the wrestling team. And 13 of them filled up the spots. So we only had 4 extras. And so it was kind of, when we graduated, we had 9 seniors that year too, out of those 17. And so it was a little crazy when we all left. They came back in 1990 and then won stadium. So it was an amazing job by the coaches at Century to get the wrestlers to improve. 90-91, they were right in the mix again. But I remember, John, actually. I remember you because I actually wrestled you a little bit too. I used to be smaller. I remember wrestling you because we'd get groups out there. And then I also, every once in a while, they'd move me up, and I wrestled a guy who was out of the military, and I can't remember what his name was. I should right now. That was out there, Mary. Because Milo was starting a wrestling team in 87. That was the first time. In fact, that was the
very first year.
Yep, very first year.
Yep.
And then you went to Dickinson.
No,
Northern.
Black Hill State University.
Black Hill State. Oh, okay.
Correct.
I was trying to figure out where you disappeared.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me how you got from there then to Harding County right after that.
Well, I transferred to Black Hill State, wrestled there to the program. They took the program away and finished up there. I actually worked in Harding County when I was a freshman in high school, freshman and sophomore, in the oil fields up there at the compressor stations. And so I knew quite a few people up in that area. When the job arose, when Tim Olson stepped down as the head coach in '94, I believe, they were looking for somebody else, and it was brought to my attention. I had an elementary ed degree, and that's where I got started.
Okay. You meet your wife out there too?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay.
I was, when I moved up there, I was freshly divorced, so I was actually not looking to get married, but that's all things work out. So,
yeah. Where is your boy at right now?
My boy's in the military right now. He is finishing up AIT at Fort Leonard Wood as a heavy equipment operator, and when he finishes up in January, he is going to school at Black Hills State University.
Okay. Well, I was wondering, just fill in those little blanks. I'll tell you a quick story. My first time coaching in Mobridge, South Dakota, my very first duel of the year was in Harding County and Lemon. And you guys came into Lemon, and I had about a half a dozen decent wrestlers and about, I'd say, a dozen that had never wrestled before, and trying to fill a team. And you had two Padden brothers. And one was younger than the other. I think it was BJ was the younger one, and who was the older one? Brandon. And I had a decent young wrestler by the name of Pat Payer out of Mobridge. Yep. And he took a licking pretty bad his opening night. I'm going, oh, man, my best wrestler. I think BJ took it to him. I know he must have been probably about a sophomore.
Yeah, so BJ.
Yep. And then later he ended up going to Nebraska. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yep. So you had some studs out there.
Yeah, I kind of walked into a program that was just needing some direction. I was a young coach. That was it's kind of interesting. That's 25 years ago. This is my 25th year as head coach. Walked into I guess the perfect storm. Young guy with a lot of energy, and it was a young team. BJ Padden was a 7th grader when I took over in Harding County. So it was, and it wasn't just BJ. It was I coached there for 9 years, and we came home with 8 team trophies, or not, with the team trophy 8 of those 9 years. So it was a fun run.
Okay. What was the biggest change for you? Now I'm going to talk about your team in a little bit, but what was the biggest change coming from a small community going back to Chamberlain into a bigger community, which in my words was always a basketball town? I don't know.
Biggest change. I took over Chamberlain in the head coaching position in 2004 to 2005 season. There was 5 wrestlers left, 7 through 12. So it was a start over. It was from the beginning. It was change of culture. It was change everything. I mean, it was everything I could do to. I tried to come in as great guns and push them as hard as I did in Harding County, and just about ran everybody out of the wrestling room. I had, for probably the first 7 years, I only had one wrestler on my team whose parent was a wrestler.
Okay.
And that's tough. That's changing a culture. So has it been a long time coming? Started with the AAU program, solidifying that, getting the right people in there, getting a junior high program going. We only had one paid position when there was only a head coaching position. That's all they paid when I took over the program. Now there's two head coaches, or excuse me, 2 high school coaches, 2 middle school coaches, and then I guess an extra position coach that, when you build it, that's what you get. So it's pretty nice.
So when you're building a program, because you're taking it from the ground up, what was your main focus? Was it first? It's hard to look back. You can kind of look back a little bit, but just getting numbers, getting the right people in the right places. What do you think is kind of key to keep a program going, or to get one going? If somebody's in a community large enough for the numbers, you can't expect it in some places, but what would you say to somebody that's trying to get something going or solidify it?
Getting the AAU numbers, getting the kids out, my goal was always to the 10 to 12 per class for AAU, maybe even more than that. because the trickle down effect, I'm going to lose kids. And my goal was always to, 6 to 7 per class, kids per class. And that's about what I have right now. Some more, some less, but that was always my goal. And you got to start from the ground and just, I don't know. It was a hard fight, through 4 athletic directors, through kind of the thick and thin, no wrestling room, all the little things that,
rolling mats up every night.
Programs had. We didn't even have a wrestling room. So it's.
So where did you wrestle? Where did you practice?
It was a tin shed out behind the school. Mice crap on our mat every day, and it smelled like a mouse was behind, and it was a lovely place.
Is that out by the football field there?
Yep, just by the football field, kind of.
Okay.
And then one of our parents, Colin Powell's dad, said enough of this, and bought a building off campus, about 6 blocks off campus, converted it into a wrestling room, and it basically forced the school's hand into saying, "Oh boy." So they built a wrestling room. So that's what you want.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not to leave you in the dust there, Jeremy, but you had asked a great question that I'll guarantee there's a lot of people wondering. And so Jeremy asked right before we went on, we were laughing about it, if John still wrestles Big Nash.
The last time I touched him was last January, about mid-January. And when he pile drove me into the wall, and of course, I'm a pretty dim bulb, I think. And I was like, whoa, that was something. And got myself back together. And then we were drilling a little technique, and he turned the corner on a high C, and I thought my leg was never going to be right again. I was like, I'm done. I shook his hand and said, that will be the last time.
I thought you were teaching him those running doubles. And
oh gosh, no.
Those aren't allowed in practice.
No. Well, he's got 2 wrestling partners that over 260 that he can run those on, and 2 others that are pretty good size 220 pounders that he can run those on. He doesn't need to run those on anybody else.
Yep. Well, here's an interesting story. 2 years ago, I went to Chamberlain, and I start looking for a little bit of advertising for people to support Dakota Grappler, and I ran into a baseball coach, and he was saying that Nash as a kid was playing baseball, and he basically was the attraction for everybody playing. And could you explain actually how well he's helped the team grow and be a good team leader?
In wrestling?
In all sports.
Yeah, he's just I remember my son played with him. My son and Nash are best friends. And I remember them always having to carry a birth certificate with him because no one believed how old he was. And, he can't be 10, he can't be 11, even actually he can't be 8. And every time he was around, kids, and Nash is a really good, well, he hasn't played baseball in probably 4 years. Nash was a heck of a baseball player. Kind of
funny. And then I this last year when I went to town, the guy who works at one of the hotels is a wrestling guy. Kind of, he must be, I don't know if he's Mexican. I should catch his name, but he was at the American.
Rick Santiago.
Okay, and he was super. We talked. I'll bet you when I went in there, we talked a half hour, 45 minutes just about wrestling. And that's the kind of the cool thing about being involved with wrestling. When someone else is involved, it becomes a tight family, tight-knit thing, and people are very proud. I tell you, people in Chamberlain are way proud of the wrestling program. Not just Nash, what's happened with it.
Yeah,
I congratulate you.
It changed the culture. And I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people that should be thanked in that. Rich and Tina Kirkpatrick, Todd and Barb Powell. Gosh, you can go down the Trinity Huska and his wife. There's a lot of people that have really helped out to change it, to start. This started us back to where we needed to be. Lena and Tyler Hamill. You can go down the list of people that just have jumped on board and really helped to bring it back and made it not just I guess the secondary sport, and people follow it in town.
Yep.
People travel. We had our cheering section the last 3-4 years at the state tournament is just not quite what Canton has. I'm sorry.
The blue of Canton, the blue wave. Yeah. Like, how about adding the two states together? How do you feel about that now that you get to see the Class B also? Either one of you having both Class A and Class B together.
Oh, I love it. I don't know how you feel about it, Jeremy, but I love it.
I love it too. I think it's fun. I love being around all the coaches from both classes and having the opportunity to see both sides of state finals, state placing matches. Makes it a lot more exciting for the fans and for the coaches, I think.
Now, tell me how South Dakota has worked, like changing the weights for having the featured match, and what kind of drove toward that, so that they had different order for the finals. We started a weight and moved through them. Tell me what South Dakota has done there. Either way.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
I think that's just voted on by the fans. I mean, I think that was just requested to the state, wasn't it, John?
Yeah, I believe so. They kind of brought it up through South Dakota Public Broadcasting and kind of a fan vote through them.
I think it was more just so to keep the crowd. So if they have the biggest match at the end, they feel like the crowds won't be dwindling out, and leave the main event for the last match.
Okay. And, even I don't want to sound this, but, last year, Nash was the feature match again last year. And he's like, I'm not the feature match. There's a lot of other matches that should have been the feature match. Klinkhammer and
yeah.
There was other matches that should have been, and and that this speaks volumes to what Nash. He said, that's, I don't know, it is what it is, but
He's got a lot of fans, not just in Chamberlain. The whole state loves him. He's got that fury attitude.
Well, Nebraska probably added another 20, 30,000 fans just by him signing to go football there. Their football's been down. They've got good following all over the world, Nebraska football, but Nash will bring more. It's just that's how it is.
Yeah, he's quite a kid. It's been
I'm hoping he has the greatest
success. Really nice. It's been an honor to sit in his corner and to have a chance to coach him.
Well, awesome. Well, Jeremy, question for you. The changing from Class A to Class B, what is the biggest difference? Now, I know you keep a pretty tough schedule as the year goes, but preparing your team, it's definitely different in Class B versus Class A. The duel this year should be interesting because you have to bring a little bit different mentality. And how many guys would you officially bring, would you think, from the end of the year? Because the way I hear it, it's almost unlimited what you can bring for extra wrestlers.
Yeah. You want me to answer how I feel like, because we've been A to go to B?
Yeah.
I think it's all about rivalries, I guess. I like the Class B rivalries. There's so many small schools.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. But when you go to Class A, you get some battles going with some certain towns. When we were there, it was Sturgis all the time because they were just hammers, and Stevens, and those were the teams that you wanted to beat. So those were the teams that we would train for all summer and all year long. In the B's, it's a lot more broken up. I feel like with less the towns being smaller, there's a lot more teams that are much more competitive, more so than the A's. A lot of those big A schools are either basketball towns or wrestling. Seems like, so the wrestling team towns seem to stick out more to me.
Sure. Well, here's what's interesting. I grew up in a small town, and when it was state wrestling weekend, they got the Friday off for school, where basketball never ever did. That was a scheduled vacation day for the town to go to the state wrestling meet. And seriously, the whole town went. I mean, 1,000 people, and probably half the town was at the state wrestling tournament where I grew up. And that's what I always see about Canton. I don't know if they get the day off, but that sea of blue and yellow is pretty huge. It really is.
We have our spring break taken now this year because we have another extra day. State tournament, so they gave Thursday and Friday off to students.
No way.
I know I'm not too happy about it, but it worked out pretty well. So
I gotta listen to all that for 3 days.
What?
I gotta listen to Canton for 3 days.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Now I tell you what, I always like Can's colors because those are the colors I grew up with, the blue and yellow. Imperials was what I was, but no, it's crazy. Love Class B. Here's what's interesting. When I used to go to the state tournament, the people that I like hanging around with are the Class B people more than the Class A. The Class A have their own little tight group, but the Class B, you can hop in with any little community and they know everything. Every wrestler, every coach that's ever been there, they know the history of the team, and it's hard to do that in a bigger town. When I go out and sell my ads, I could go into, let's say, a park in South Dakota, and I could hop into any place, a restaurant, maybe an adult beverage location, and they'll talk their wrestling. I love it.
I thought wrestling A's and B's, the biggest difference to me too was if you want to contend for a title, you almost got to place 8 to 14 wrestlers every time to place top 3 as a team in the A's. Where in the B's, it seems like you place a good solid 4 or 5, you're in the top 4. It's a lot different that way too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to check if one of you guys, I don't know if the volume is up a little bit much because it's kind of double echoing. I don't know. Check it out. I can hear myself back.
About that?
That might be a little bit better. Yeah, that was it. Awesome. No, when we first started, John had no volume, but I'm glad he could talk. Okay, now here's something I want to ask you guys. I've kind of wondered, when you guys have both had champion wrestlers, how do you approach your goal setting for your team, for your individuals? Do you do that during the beginning of the season? Or you kind of pace it through the season and see kind of reality of what the wrestlers' expectations would be around Christmas? Jeremy, how about you first? What do you do?
I usually make my goals once the season ends. So then we have all summer to work towards them.
Okay.
I've always done it. So, and then once season starts, you see, we'll see what we need work on, and then we just try to fine tune things and hopefully peak by February.
Mm-hmm.
What we try to do.
How about you, John?
Very similar to Jeremy. My goal always starts after the state wrestling tournament. Where do we want to be? Where do you want to, what's the goal? And my goal has changed over the years, obviously, just with, when you get success. But during the season, we haven't done it this week yet. It's going to I usually do it after the first meet. I sit down and hand out goal sheets that says your SU December goals, your January goals, your February goals, and then they write down all their goals. I give them a copy. I keep a copy, and then we revisit them about 3 times during the season. Mm-hmm. And, where are you? Where are you in goals? Look at them.
What are you doing to meet those goals?
You exceeded some of them. Did you not set them high enough? Where are we at? So,
Okay. How about technique wise? Now, I always used to evaluate every tournament, and I'd go back in the bus and I'd have my little scratch paper and write everything down. Or even during the meet, I used to tell my assistant coach, "Hey, write that down because I'm going to forget it." On that crossface, we're not grabbing, at the elbow, or we are, not breaking people down, and we're out of position. And why is that guy looking into a half? Stupid things like that. But how do you evaluate your practice runs? Do you keep kind of the same schedule from the beginning of the year, from year to year, and have it planned out, or do you base everything just by the weekends? Tell me a little bit. I know the beginning of the season, usually people kind of keep a little pattern, but Jeremy, how do you base your season out?
We usually know what tournament we're going into, so we know what we're going into this weekend, and we know what a lot of the teams that we're competing against, what their tendencies are. Mm-hmm. We try to at least touch base on them. We don't go really in depth, but we touch base on them this week just so we're ready for them, and then we'll build on them as the season goes on. Okay. And then we also look, how did we perform this week at the term we go, whatever term we go to, and then we'll try to fix those little mistakes.
Okay.
A lot of my wrestlers, from state tournament, the mistakes we made at the state tournament, I'm already hounding them privately about them. Practice, like, you better not get in this because last time you wrestled, you got in that, and try to fix those things.
Yeah. How do you get out of a chicken wing? You don't get in it.
Or a butcher.
Yeah. Okay. How about you, John?
Well, one thing that's changed a lot is we have Huddle for wrestling, so I can review everything, and I can send them notes on Huddle and say, you need to watch this sequence, this 30-second sequence, or I'll circle different positions and send them a picture of, hey, look at this. You need to change this. I still do my own notes. Beginning of the season, obviously, I have a set things that I want to teach and go through. But once we get into the season, so like I'm headed to O'Neill, Nebraska on Saturday. Those guys love to throw, and they'll step in and do some of the craziest stuff. And I'm just like, we prepare a weekend. I know who I'm wrestling.
Sure.
We wrestle Mitchell on Friday before we go to O'Neill. It may have changed a little bit, but Mitchell does some things. They have the Mitchell roll, Gazzoni. You got to be looking for certain things that they're going to run.
Right.
And we go through those things in practice. Usually I have, a cheat sheet of every team has certain things that they do well, like
that comes with experience.
Canton, tie up with Canton, you're going to get a throw by, or you're going to, a pass by or something like that. And every
elbow pass. I see that a lot. People are tying up elbow pass, small ankle. Yeah.
Every team has a little signature things that, you need to prepare for. So.
And some coaches can pick that out easier than others. I sat at the state wrestling tournament a couple of years ago, and I do the broadcasting. And I was talking with the other guy doing the broadcasting and another coach at the same time, interviewing him a little bit. And I talked about one of his guys in the finals, and I said, "Do you realize that he is left-handed?" And the other coach didn't even realize the other kid was shooting his single and high crotches opposite sides, and he was left-handed. You could tell. And if you don't prepare your wrestlers sometimes, I'm going, geez, you don't even realize that there's a difference in how you do things. And he actually thought about it, going, "Oh my!" He didn't even notice that the kid he's going to be facing in the finals left-handed, on different things that good coaches start catching. Jeremy, now not to give up secrets, but you don't have to. But would you say that Canton has a signature move or a signature series that they go through?
I really don't think we do, to be honest with you. I mean, we work everything, and every one of our wrestlers honestly is really different.
Well, I've always thought you guys is very good on your feet. It's one of your main things where people have a hard time taking you down, and it's like action, reaction, reshots. And that's kind of my evaluation of you right away when I've watched you wrestle. And it's always that your kids are strong. It's like, you're a bigger small community, but it's like you've got that farm strength kids. You got to be prepared for that. I don't know. How about you, John? Is there anything, if you don't want to give up secrets, that's fine too.
As far as signature that we do?
Yep.
Boy, I wouldn't say, I don't know. A lot of my kids run a cradle on top, but I wouldn't say that's the signature for everyone that we do. Certain kids run certain things better than others. And, what's really nice is going to wrestle at different clubs, different camps, different things like that in the off season. My kids come back with lots of different things that they picked up, and they put them to work in the practice room, and it's pretty nice.
Okay. And, do you have enough assistant coaches to help you move? So do you actually have some kids sometimes show some stuff?
Do I? Nash steps up. I have enough that it's nice. These kids bring all kinds of different techniques in. So DW runs their little club thing out over there, and kids go to like middle school duels. They've gone to the that 605 whatever, I can't even think that club that goes, and just lots of kids coming back with different things. That's what I love. Bring something back.
How many coaches do you have in your room right now on a normal day?
I have 4 coaches in my room.
Okay. How about you, Jeremy?
5.
5? Okay.
Sometimes I should say, I guess, but
yeah. Okay.
You have to deal with ask though.
Huh?
You have to deal with ask.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
Who's your main technician, Jeremy, in the room? Or you switch it around?
Probably ask.
Okay. And
Watson shows a lot of stuff. He has a lot of knowledge from wrestling 5 years at Augie. So
yeah, go through your coaches, Jeremy, that are all there.
Coach Ask, Coach Parker Swanson, Tanner Brodden, Kyle Seibel, Thomas Woods, and right now we're getting some of our former state champs coming in. Dylan Swenson, that's Parker Swanson's brother.
Okay.
And Chris York, former Watertown wrestlers. That was a stud there coming in. So.
Okay. And how about you? Name yours, John. Give them some kudos, some creds.
So I have a new assistant this year, and Brody Matai. He was helped out with the Beersford program last year. And then Luke Geezy, he's out of Minnesota. He is another one of our coaches. And then Garrett Huska is another one of and our junior high program is also in our room at one time. So, we've got a lot of kids in our room. But, those are all the coaches that we have in the room.
What are your numbers right now, John?
We have 25 high school wrestlers, and then we have another 26 junior high wrestlers.
Wow, nice numbers. How about you, Jeremy? What does it look like numbers for you?
We're at 43, 7 through 12.
Okay. It fills up the room then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I tell you what, you guys both have tournaments this weekend coming up. How is it looking? Or do you have duels first actually this weekend? Before this weekend?
We just have a tournament, no duels.
Okay. What you, John?
We duel Mitchell at home here on Friday, and then travel to O'Neill, Nebraska, and wrestle in the O'Neill Invite. And we're the only South Dakota team there. I got to be honest with you, I don't even know where some of these schools are. It doesn't really matter to me. I kind of like it that way. It's kind of fun. Walk in there.
They just got to wrestle. It's a good way to just go out and wrestle. I know nothing about this kid. You got to wrestle.
Yeah. Valentine is the only team that we know that usually comes in there. They're the 2 or 3 time defending state champions. I believe they return 3 state champions and a couple other state finalists. They come in there. They wrestle. That's a pretty solid crew.
Hastings and Grand Island, or who all comes to that tournament? Do you remember some of the team names?
Not right off the top of my head. No.
Okay. I'm gonna have to look at the results when it's said and done. Does Nebraska use track also now?
They've been using it for a while. Yes, actually, they started using it before we did.
Okay.
They were although I got to say this, and it's nothing against them, but that is the last tournament. They had track. They've had it for a long time, and they were seeding a tournament, pulling pills out of a pill bottle, and that's the last tournament I've been to. I hadn't seen somebody do that for a long time, and we were going there, and they're still doing it. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Track will do this for you.
Yep, old school.
It was old school.
Yep, definitely.
And that wasn't that long ago. What's that?
Right down to where he's going to be wrestling at this weekend.
Yep. He's there.
I was hearing rumors that he might have to wait because he got too big or something.
Oh, my God. If I had a nickel for every time I've heard that, I would be a rich, rich man. He's not going to make weight. Oh, I had probably 10 people call me and say, hey, he's not going to wrestle because he's going to play football at Nebraska. He's not wrestling. And I'm like, where are you getting these things? Well, I heard this. Okay.
Well, you remember Riley Reef, though, when he was going to Iowa. Different story. He did not wrestle his senior year.
Well, part of that, too, is he had a broken hand. And he had surgery in his hand and had a cast. Yep. He still could have probably wrestled, but I don't know.
He's a guy I wouldn't mind meeting now and visiting with him a little bit now that he's playing with the Vikings. Yeah. Yep, definitely. How about yours? Go through your lineup a little bit if you want, Jeremy. Let's go through yours first and see. Tell me a little bit about your kids and give them some cred also for tonight.
Yeah, I think, we were just talking about this in the room today. I think this is probably one of our most talented rooms we've ever had at Canton. Where, we got a lot of ability, but it definitely has to be worked. It's got to be earned, and we're trying to teach our kids to not take things for granted. Right now, 6-pounders, we got about 4 6-pounders, but some are pretty raw. Right now, we got a pretty solid one with Corbin Ockenga. He'll be going at 6 for us. Andy Myers, returning place winner, he'll be at 13 for us. 20, Kale Ass, Coach Ass' son. He'll be going at 20. He had a great summer. I think he's the only wrestler on our team that went undefeated at Luther Team Camp at 120. So
what grade is he in?
freshman.
The freshman, okay.
126, returning place winner Luke Richardson will be there. 32, Kellen March.
Nobody knows who he is.
No. 38, Braden Sayer. 45, Seth Peterson, another state place winner.
Yeah.
And 52, Dominisi. 60, Caden Laubach. He was at 60 last year and placed. He's back the same weight. And Shaden Scheitz back at 70. He was state place winner. 82, we're testing the waters out. We got a few kids there. Not sure on who will land that spot by the end of the season, I guess. So waiting on that one. 95, Cullen Rutten's back. And then our 220, Marshall Baldwin and Zach Richardson at heavyweight are both back.
Man, very talented team. You'll fun to watch.
Yeah, we won't be at full strength though. I don't think till probably mid-January. Yeah, we're gonna be pretty low this weekend. We got a lot of sickness going on with strep, and so I'm a lot of backups to put in. So we're gonna be it'll be a little interesting because we're not gonna be in the same situation we've been in for the last couple of years this first weekend. So
sure,
should be fun.
Well, you don't want to peak early, exactly right. No, not at all. Okay. Have you ever thought of coming out to what big tournament do you have for the following weekend after this weekend? Where do you go?
We're going to Jackson County Central Tournament.
Okay. Have you ever thought of going out to Rapid?
We were contemplating that. We talked with our school, and they're sort of not very big on travel. We travel to golf, and that was sort of a.
Where's the Jackson County at? That's in Minnesota. So
yeah.
What
2
town?
hours away. 2 hours.
Where?
2 hours.
No, what was the town I was asking?
Oh, Jackson, Minnesota.
Oh, it is in the town of Jackson, Minnesota.
Yep.
Okay.
It's right on the interstate, right?
Yep.
Just right off. I mean.
Okay. For some reason, I tell you what, Minnesota is another breed when it comes to wrestling, because that's another one. You get in some of those small communities that have wrestling. It's huge. Okay. How competitive has that tournament been for you guys?
This is the first year we've gone to it.
Oh, okay.
So we're just trying it out for the first time, and we went to the
Brandon Valley last year, correct?
What?
They were at Brandon Valley last year?
No, that was Fairmont.
Oh, Fairmont. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is going to be a brand new experience for you this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll pay attention to that too. John, tell me about your team.
Right now, 106. I have a sophomore, but he only weighs 88 pounds. One of those things, small kid. After Christmas, when the junior high season is done, I will have probably 4 or 5 6-pounders. Mm-hmm. I let them have their success, and I'm not really worried about pulling them up right at this moment. It'd be nice, but it's not that big of a deal. 113, Quinn Long. He wrestled 106 off and on for us last year. And he's really put in a lot of work in the off season. He's coming in. He's a little raw, but in certain situations, but never seen a kid. He just wants it so bad, and he fights really hard out there. 120, Dominic Santiago. You talked to his dad at American. Yep. Dom comes back, same weight class, 120. Should have been a state qualifier last year, just kind of run into a buzzsaw at the regions, kind of one of those, somebody got upset and another guy got upset. And it is what it is. Hopefully he learned from it, and he's done a lot of work in the off season over at DW. 126, actually kind of got 2 kids, Thomas Powell and Trey Nealon. Trey Nealon won the wrestled well. He was a state qualifier, won a match at state last year at 106. He's coming back and he's looking good. 132 is Gabe Skewscatted. He's a 2-time state place winner. Gabe's kind of a special kid. He's only been wrestling This is his 4th year wrestling, and he's a 2-time state place winner. He's kind of a special kid. He's pretty fun to watch. Put a lot of off-season wrestling in. Went to junior nationals last year, and threw his name in the hat, and I'm pretty happy with him going up and doing that. His brother Cody Skewstad is a two-time state qualifier at 138. Looking for big things from him this year. 145 is Garrett Ristow. He's wrestled varsity off and on in the last couple of years, but he's really looking good in the practice room. 152, we got a newcomer coming in there. Had a wrestler that we were looking forward to coming up, a freshman. His name was CJ Yost. Got injured first week of practice. Sprained his ACL, and he'll be out till, it's not real bad, he'll be out till after Christmas. But got another young wrestler that's in there that a little less experience, Swade Reese. At 160 is Noah Hutmaker, state qualifier last year. Noah's cutting a little weight to get down there.
He's grown quite a bit then still too.
What's that?
Noah's grown quite a bit.
He did grow quite a bit. Kind of excited to see what he can do down 60. He's kid's monkey strong, and he'll try anything. Maybe once, twice, sometimes 3 times. He sees something else. 170 is Remington Rosso. Rem seems to be his own worst enemy a lot of times. Enjoy coaching him. He's fun to watch out on the mat. But, I've said it for the last couple of years. He should have stood on the podium, and he just can't seem to put it together at regions. And they're looking for big things from him this year. Josiah Thompson at 182. Josiah came out of the weight class at our region. He was the 5th guy out. The top 4 placed at state. Just one of those tough regions. He's good enough. Went 1-point matches with the guy that got 3rd and 4th at state, and he had 1-point matches with him. It's just one of those things. 195 is kind of a crapshoot for us this year, or this first tournament. Have a wrestler trying to get himself eligible. One of those things is kids. Yeah. But wrestling experience, good athlete, Max Hawk. So I'm looking for good things from him. 220, Ruger Forrester. Ruger was a state qualifier 2 years ago, won a match at state. Blew his knee out last year. Is coming back off ACL surgery. Did well during the football season, so he's feeling good. And then obviously heavyweight, I got Nash coming back. So, very solid lineup. Probably one of the more solid lineups that we've had for a very long time. Obviously I don't. 6-pounder after Christmas will be good. It's kind of like what Jeremy said. We're, really I'm looking to put the best lineup on the mat in February. That's really what I'm looking for right now. It's just getting kids some experience, some time, and it's pretty fun.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I look so forward to seeing you guys go. I'm, I wish I could be in both states at once, but this year for your dual tournament now coming in, both you guys probably set it in your goals to make the dual teams, I'm guessing, explain kind of if you've changed your schedule a little bit or got enough duels, or if you had to do anything to see if you could qualify.
Canton loves duels, I would say. I mean, I almost like duels better than tournaments personally. So we've been looking forward to this for a while, I would say. I guess, we try to average around 25 duels a year, so we've always had a pretty duel heavy.
Oh boy, that's a lot. Yep.
Yeah, so we're definitely looking forward to it. The only thing it'll be a little interesting having a 3-day state tournament with all those more weigh-ins and having to wrestle those extra matches. It'll be interesting to see how the kids handle that.
If you had to say your top 2 rivals, who would you say they are, Jeremy? For duel.
In a duel?
Yep.
Man, there's a couple. Winter, Phillip, Cook Central. I think Parker has a very good dual team this year. There's better than average in every one of their weight classes. I saw them beat Howard last night. They're a good team.
Okay. How about you, John? Who would be your main rival, being close to there? Mitchell, right away?
Rival? Well, I don't know if you know this, John, but Canton is actually, their school is bigger than us. We petition out. Depending on our ADM, and I get a lot of phone calls over this. Depending on our ADM, we could be 225 to 245. That's 9 through 11. But depending on the years, we're a border town,
Right.
and sometimes we're less than that. Right now, Canton is probably, I don't know, 10, 15 students more than us, something like that. They're Class B. I petitioned to be up Class A.
Oh, okay.
With that being said, I am in dual no man's land because I'm not an ESD school. I can do all kinds of B schools, but to get qualified for the state dual tournament,
Really? I did not know that. Okay.
it's going to be tough, and I can't jump in on that ESD schedule. I'm sure Jeremy knows all about this. You can't jump in on those schedules, and you can piggyback off them if they let you. But a lot
It's
of times
because they're so tight. Their conferences are so tight. They've had them forever.
Oh, that one's like the mafia. Right? That may sound really terrible, but that one it's terrible. You can't get in on them. So I really like it that Mitchell is willing to duel us and come to our place. Brookings did it, but Brookings is 3 hours away, and on a weekday, yikes. I don't really want to go do that. For Stevens to say, hey, we would love to duel you. Come out before the Rap City Invitational. Stevens is going to duel us right before the Rap City Invitational. God bless them. I mean, there's some teams that aren't coming out of the woodwork to duel us, and it's hard for me to get A schools to duel.
Right.
It's one of those things.
Okay. Well,
Huron's not coming here. Huron's not coming here. And nothing against them. I don't hold it. I'm not saying that this or anything like that.
They don't want to wrestle Nash. No,
no,
just kidding. No.
Yeah, no.
No, I tell you what, you're kind of centralized in the state too. So you would think it'd be easy, but then when you look at how many A schools are around you, you got a ways to go to get places.
Yeah. It's tough. Do I want to get to the state dual team tournament? We made it 4 years in a row when I was in Hardin County. I think it is one of the greatest builders you can ever get to build your program. You get so many kids there, so many kids involved. You're going to bring, Jeremy's going to find out because he's going to make it, but she's going to bring kids that aren't going to get to step out on the mat individually at a state tournament, probably, but they're going to get there in the duel. And somehow, and I'm sure he is, Jeremy and Ask are going to find some way to get them out on the mat, and they're going to put a duel away and say, go out there, give it your all, and that's what I love about it. You're going to be able to get kids there. Have we talked about it here? Yeah. If I change my schedule, I'm putting together as many duels as I can, be anybody that'll see me, because I want to make it there, and then I hear people grumble about it. Yeah, it is an extra way in, and I can understand a little bit, but I don't know. North Dakota does it, Minnesota, you realize it's different weekends and different things, but I don't know, adapt and go on and figure it out somehow.
How about the crazy Friday that the state tournament? Did you look at the schedule for this year and how crazy it'll be?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
I tell you what, and it's early on Friday. I tell you what, on Friday you're wrestling your semis and then your duels, and I was trying to, in my head, figure out what they were doing because I thought they were going to kind of get close to what North Dakota does, and we do our dual final late Friday night and our semis. So Friday's huge in North Dakota already, but you guys are like at noon on Friday, wrestling some crucial matches. It's crazy. It's like, so I'm going to have to take all of Friday off to see the state tournament for sure in South Dakota.
I'm glad they're wrestling the semis earlier than the duels. I guess I look at that. So,
and people take the individual so seriously that they want to keep that tradition of people, for some reason that means way more than the team stuff, where the guys that really, enjoy the duel, see them as equals, I don't know, some people are worried about getting injured or something like that in the duel so that they can't wrestle the individual. I don't know. Should be interesting.
There's always going to be two schools of thought, and there's and Jeremy knows this, there's somebody that's going to be angry about it and raging mad at one of our meetings, and we're all going to shake our head and walk out of there and do one of these and go, well, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Cuss the state and say they're going to go somewhere else, but they don't. So
just be happy that they allowed it to happen, because they took it away for a long time.
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did. Definitely. No, I had one other thing I wanted to talk about. I can't remember. I had so many major topics. For both of you as being experienced coaches and so forth. John, is there anything in particular that you want to talk about with, ask Jeremy a question or anything there?
I don't know. Like, I was trying to remember when you graduated high school, Jeremy.
What year was that? 1996.
96. I thought I remembered you wrestling, so I was like, I was coaching at the time, so
189. That's my senior year weight class.
Yeah, I remember.
The same way with like Dale Doherty and Tyler Anderson and from Brandon, those guys.
Yep. Yeah. I always remember harassing Ask. Ask would always come up to me and I'd always BS with him. Coming from Hardin County, I only knew a few B coaches, so come in there and I don't know. Ask was always friendly and I always BS with him, so it was always pretty fun.
So do you guys have an opportunity to watch any of the college stuff? Do you pay attention? Do you have a college team you follow? Let's say I grew up as an Iowa fan because that's where Terry and Troy went, and I go back to the Dan Gables and you go to you think of all the history there. Penn State is tough for me to follow, even though a lot of my buddies are Penn State fans. Anything there for either one of you?
I'm a huge Iowa Hawkeye fan. So I watch college wrestling daily if I could.
Okay.
I love college wrestling.
Wisconsin's butt, so that was pretty good.
What'd you say, John?
I said Iowa just kicked. Oh, John, yeah. Both Johns.
I like watching Iowa. Got to be honest with you. Just, I was a McElravy fan. I remember driving to watch McElravy wrestle at Nationals, every year that he was there, I was there. So I kind of, having met Tom Ryan a lot and been around him and watched him, I kind of like Ohio State and Cornell. I don't know what it is, but happened to go to Nationals a few years ago and got stuck in the Cornell crowd. And I wouldn't say stuck, but that was kind of a fun group to sit with. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. How about, here's what's interesting is I find that a lot of South Dakota wrestlers, if they do go D1, they end up in Nebraska. Is it because you have a South Dakota boy coaching there? Is that possible?
I think he probably looks at South Dakota a little bit because of that, because he has ties to it.
Yeah.
He was just newly there when BJ went there. Well, I'd gone to a camp or something and or a clinic, and Mark was the clinician, and I thought BJ could do this. I mean, BJ was a wild card, but he could do that. I mean, I guess I saw something, and I saw that a South Dakota boy, if I was going to get him to a D1 school outside, the realm fairly close, that was the one. And Mark was willing to come and look at him and stick his neck out and for not being somebody always said he was an outsider, an outlier when BJ went there. Well, I don't know if you ever watched BJ wrestle, but it was something else. And he did great things for Mark and for the Nebraska program and for himself. So
how many time All-American was he too?
He was a 2-time All-American, 3-time qualifier. Should have been an All-American, a 3-timer for him, but it is what it is.
Okay. No, I remember first time I watched at a camp, I went down to the Black Hills camp, and we had Tom Brands. Yep, Tom Brands was down there, and Tom Brands asked somebody that could wrestle him, and he stepped out there. I don't know if you were at the camp too, probably.
I was there.
And you remember him asking somebody, and he stepped up, and Brands, all of a sudden, he goes, I can high crotch anybody whenever I want. And then all of a sudden, he tries to high crotch Brandon, and he couldn't. It was like, oh my. He goes, I can get a high crotch on anybody, you name it. And Brandon stepped out there, and he couldn't get the high crotch on him. It was like, oh, you're embarrassing the camp guy who's doing the camp.
He couldn't.
No.
He couldn't high crotch him.
Nope, he could not. It was phenomenal. And he goes, oh, I'm going to do it right now. Nope. And it was like, you make him sweat. It was such a perfect opportunity. I'm going, oh yeah. And then when I saw him go to Nebraska, it was like, guess what? He can do it. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
No, I golfed with him too that weekend, and he's not a good golfer.
No, you remember that when we golfed, John?
Yeah.
hit a golf ball and it bounced off my chest. He went straight off the front of the club, and I was standing straight away from him, waiting for him to hit. Came right off the toe of the club and bounced off my chest. And the look in his eye, he was like traumatized, like, holy crap, that just hit someone.
That's funny because I forgot until now you said that happened. That was you it hit. Oh,
yes, that was me.
That was funny because we drew for partners and we're driving through the hills. And I said, if you golf this bad the rest of the way, I'm going to throw you out of the cart in the hills here. And I was trying to kid with him. And he goes, I dare you. And I said, oh, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah. And I said, you got to. He was so bad. I had the worst partner ever. And yet I've got the camp clinician. He's my golf partner.
Well, his golf stance was like his wrestling stance, and it was awful.
Yeah,
oh, my gosh.
It was bad. That was funny. I remember Pavic, he says, oh, yeah, this will be great. And I'm like, oh, by the time I was done, I was done.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. No. How about this? Either one of you going to go down to the D1s, have an opportunity in Minnesota, Minneapolis?
Definitely.
I'm going.
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you what.
You know what? I'll win it.
Yeah. It'll be a blast. Well, I'll definitely have to catch up to you guys there. That's awesome.
My 5 of my college teammates and I got together last year after nationals, and we bought tickets, bought the expensive ones, and we're going to be up close, and we're going to go kind of have a reunion. We're all driving out there together, meeting up here in Chamberlain and driving out there together. And one of our college teammates actually lives in Minneapolis or in St. Paul, staying at his house, and it should be a great event. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, I tell you what, I'm a little jealous you got better seats.
No, we got right on it, and I have no idea. I mean, they were spending $300 seats, but what the heck?
Mm-hmm. No, again, if you have an opportunity to get with your college roommates and everything else, that's awesome. I should do the same thing. Both of my college roommates are in the cities. I didn't even think of that. They're both wrestlers too. And I should almost give them a call and see if I can squeeze them some tickets. We got extras just to do a little reunion too. No, there was a guy trying to think. You wouldn't know him. They're both Minnesota wrestlers, but they're both, one's an All-American, Tom Kerpak from NDSU at the time too. But nope, and Brian Vimola, Southern Minnesota boy. I'll just give him a heads up, both of them out there. They probably every once in a while hop on my stuff. But I don't know, last words, Jeremy, for you at all? We've hit about that hour mark. We'll definitely have you both on again. We can BS wrestling a little bit and see how progress your team, so forth. Anything you, Jeremy?
Just looking forward to a fun season and looking forward to seeing all the coaches again and wrestlers, and it's a good time.
Awesome.
I don't get to see Jeremy very often. I like harassing you at Lee Wolf, you Matt. So it's pretty always entertaining when the first time we see you up there. So actually we do see you in Brandon Valley too. I forget about that. So
yeah, Brandon. Nash always usually tries to come up and challenge me to a match. I always have to turn away and walk away.
Yeah, no, he's looking good. It's nice to have big wrestling partners for him to go with and not beat around on me for so long. So
glad he's not in my room. So he would take up most of the room and no one else would get to practice.
Yeah, no, it's I gotta say, having two big guys to be able to go with him, it really helps out. It does really help out. So,
okay.
I was going to ask you, John, when did you get started in wrestling?
Well, my dad was a wrestling coach too. First time I stepped on the mat was probably the day after I was born. But grew up in a small town. Actually, my dad was a coach in a small town of Garrison, North Dakota, to start where I was born, and then they moved back to his hometown of Napoleon, and that's actually where Wayne Shear is from, who was the coach down in Wagner for a long time. And he was a legend. He's in the Hall of Fame. He had back-to-back state championships and basically kind of the mecca of Class B wrestling for many years in North Dakota. And then when I was a sophomore in high school, my dad decided that he wanted something bigger and better, and we actually moved to Hastings, Nebraska for a little bit, for about 9-10 weeks. And then and that's just, Napoleon's about 1,000 people. When you think of Hastings, Nebraska, it was just a bigger opportunity. And then he decided, he wanted to go back to North Dakota. He was homesick himself after 10 weeks. And we moved to Bismarck. And that's where I was kind of taken under the wing by a Milo trustee, Monty Milo. And then you go into the Terry and Troy Steiner. It's crazy. But the first day I walked in, the first two guys who saw me walking in the door, who I knew since I was probably 8-10 years old, Terry and Troy Steiner, ran up to me and said, "What are you doing here, Gums?" I said, "I just moved to town, and hey, we got practice tonight. We're gonna open up the room, and this is, you're talking middle of football and everything else." And they had keys to the wrestling room. Sophomore in high school, we're starting wrestling at 2:30 in the afternoon, and went till 4 or 5, and there was not practice hadn't even started yet. And then we'd go to BSC or go out to Milo's house, and we'd actually get a little wrestling in. And honestly, those guys were so intense into the sport. They pretty much led our team in everything. Since they were sophomores in high school, would get things going. They were totally dedicated to making sure everybody was good. And it's phenomenal. I mean, I don't know a better two people that wanted to work hard. I used to have lived about a mile from Century, and they lived about 2.5 miles. And I ran from the north about 1 mile, not about 3/4 mile, and they ran 2 miles, and we'd meet at the corner to run the last half mile to Century in the mornings. And they were phenomenal. I mean, they had goals that I could never dream of. But it was kind of funny because I always loved baseball. So when spring came along, I missed a lot of freestyle and Greco wrestling. So I always did baseball, and they just continued on. Their careers, I had to apologize to Terry and Troy probably about 2 years after they started college. Dan Gable, my senior year, came to our school, and I was in awe. And he actually came to our school to recruit these two. But what's crazy is I went straight to Terry and Troy Steiner, and I said to Terry that if you're going to wrestle for Dan Gable, you better stop crying. and serious, because see, I was a 152 pounder. They wrestled 125, 130. Got to understand, and they'd come up and wrestle me, and I kicked their ass. But I was that much bigger than them all the time. Neither one to today has ever beat me. But that was because I was so much bigger than them. Really, in reality, I wasn't a bad wrestler. I was, also a state champ too. But I went straight to Terry, and I said, if you cry in front of Dan Gable, because they would cry, they'd get so mad in practice. If somebody even took them down once, or if they wrestled me, or they'd wrestle anybody bigger. Carl Lemke was an All-American, another guy on our team for Mary College. He was out there, and I 2 years later, I had to apologize to him. And Terry said to me, "No, I took your words to heart that we told each other we cannot break up." They would break up and cry, and I said, "You can't do that in front of Dan Gable." And I said, "No way." I honestly thought that they wouldn't make it at Iowa. Iowa was that much bigger than what I thought they were, and they totally proved me wrong in a lot of ways.
Can I tell you a story about them too?
Sure, definitely.
So I didn't start wrestling until I was in 6th grade. I have 4 older brothers that all wrestled. My older brother was a All-American at here in college way back in the day when there was 110 guys in the weight class and all of those things. But I just didn't really want to do it. My 2 younger brothers actually started. I have 10 brothers and sisters, so kind of one of those things. So I didn't win as a 6th, 7th, and 8th grader. Never won a match. Stuck with it. Somebody asked me, "Why'd you do it?" I don't know. What else was I going to do? Play basketball? So freshman year, I finally won a challenge match to make the varsity. That was my first win ever. And, I guess the rest you say is history. Well, I got a college wrestling scholarship to University of Mary. Went into the room, and Troy and Terry Steiner in there, and they're Milo's prodigies. And Milo sat us all against the wall, brought out Terry and Troy, and just started calling out Russian tie to a sweep single, Russian tie into a high C, and went through set after set into shot after shot and calling them off. And I'm looking at him going, I know about 3 or 4 things that he said. As far as a background, it was one of I knew more than that, but I'm just sitting there going, holy crap, really? Who was the 4th grader? Really good kid, wrestled for Iowa for a year, and then What?
Gillis.
Casey Gillis.
Casey Gillis.
That was a third grader, a fourth grader.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd never seen anything quite like him. That was quite incredible too. He brings him in, starts calling off stuff, and I'm just like, oh my God, really?
See, Milo started wrestling in 1978. He's the Mat Pack Wrestling is the big club in Bismarck.
Oh yeah.
And Milo, he was phenomenal. He would get these wrestlers, and he had his kids that were just so good. You could go through the list of all Americans that he's got that he had in his club. It's just crazy.
Oh yeah. So Terry and Troy were my wrestling partners. We all weighed the same. They beat the stupid out of me every day at the college wrestling room. I'm embarrassed, but I'm too bullheaded to stop. And, just kept going. And wrestling started the first day of college. I mean, it was back in the day where rules, there are no rules. And when somebody did say something, we just go out to Milo's and wrestle.
Yep.
And you're right. Terry and Troy cried just about every day.
Yep.
Every day, because somebody would take them down. Not me, but somebody else would.
Yep.
Well, the first day it was like in November, and I took Troy down, and it took him down. And not only did I take him down to his back, and I crawled off him, and we were going live takedowns. I crawled off him, and he punched me right in the mouth.
Oh.
And I chased him down to the corner, and I proceeded to punch him about 3 times in the head, and I was pissed. Thinking, you little punk son of a gun. You can't do. I mean, what? Somebody take you down. He's bawling and he's blubbering.
Yep.
Milo grabbed me, dragged me to the middle of the mat, crawled up on top of me, dropped the boots in, and proceeded to beat me for about 45 minutes till I tried to break Milo's fingers off and then his arm, and until they had to separate us because I was going to kill Milo Trusty. The next day, Troy came up to me and apologized. I said, I'm sorry. I'm like, don't you ever do that again. But Troy apologized. Never thought he would, but
yeah.
It's funny. I didn't see Troy for 20 years. Walked up to him, said, Troy, how you doing? Do you remember me, John Donovan? Knew me. I hadn't seen him in 20 years.
Yep.
A few years ago. It was pretty interesting. No.
I tell you what, they're way humbled young men now. Because I tell you what, it was hard. We beat on each other a lot. I mean, here's a true story where we're going. Senior year, Terry and Troy Steiner got off at 1:30 in the afternoon. And they had a key and they would start the first practice at 1:30. We didn't have practice until 3:30. So they had 2 hours going. Well, for the wrestling season, my senior year, I got off at 2:30, so I had an hour. I went there. They had already been wrestling for an hour, and then we'd go takedowns. There were 4 of us, a guy by the name of Trent Gillis. 5 of us would hop in, and Trent Gillis, who was Casey's older brother, and then we had another guy, Carl Lemke, who ended up being an All-American out at Mary College there too, and then myself, Terry, Troy, and then we'd go in a circle and do takedowns. One guy would be in the middle and for a round of everybody. And if you got taken down by everybody, you'd get an inch of hair shaved off your legs.
What?
And if you got taken down by everybody. So
whose idea was that?
This was Terry and Troy. They were doing weird stuff like, guess what? We're going to pull out you didn't want to stay at their house. They had a mat in their basement. And he pull out a deck of cards, and we're just going to do the Dan Gable do push-ups. You throw a card down, you got one. Then we'd go back and forth, and I'd go, oh, man, I don't want to stay at your guys' house. Those little things. But, Trent Gillis had no hair in his legs at all. He was done. Terry had one leg was completely bare. Troy probably only had about an inch taken off all year. He couldn't get taken down by everybody. Troy was a lot better than Terry at that point. And then myself, after I had my first couple inches of hair taken off, I wouldn't show up all the time. I would go, okay, this isn't worth it to me, But no, little things. They play little games. I'd mentioned earlier we only had 17 guys in our room our senior year, and honestly, you guys at the college saved us. We could actually go out and get some competition. There was a Jacob from Linton. There was all these guys. Stensgaard. I don't know if you remember Keith Stensgaard. He was with you that first year out there.
Do you realize after college was over, Stensgaard, or after the season was over, Stensgaard was All-American, then he quit college?
Yeah.
Stensgaard was like 29 years old, right?
Yeah. Yep.
He only went there to be an All-American. He wanted to do it because he was a farmer. I just remember he got undressed the first time in there, and this guy was built like a mountain. He was a 97-pounder, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's actually not Stensgaard. I know who you're talking about. That's the guy I'm talking about, the 29-year-old. His oh man, I got to think of his name. But yeah, I know who you're talking about. He came
great German guy. Took his clothes off, and he's built like a brick. Giant, like we're talking like a 31-inch waist, and his shoulders were so wide, no legs. He skipped leg day, but my God, he was giant big and strong as a mule, just stupid strong. Yeah.
Yep. And then there was the Schuster brothers who came out there, twins. Trying to think of other guys that you guys all had on that first team.
The kid from Linton was an All-American that year, and then he quit and went to be a model out in California.
Jacobs. No, what the heck is his last name? Oh, yeah, that's right. He did. Yeah, you're so right.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, I tell you what, you could do the history of that first year of that wrestling team for Milo. It would be like where some of these guys might be in jail. Some guys could be somewhere else. It's
Jim Beam, my roommate, runs or is it Tim Beam? Tim Beam, my roommate, runs a bowling alley or bowling alley or a restaurant in Grand Forks, I believe.
Grand Forks, yep.
Yeah. you know that nobody came back from that. Hilsendager was the only one that came back, I believe.
After the 87 year, he burned everybody out.
Everybody was gone.
Yep.
We had practice at 7 o'clock in the morning. No, 6:30, excuse me. 6:30 in the morning, at noon, and then at 3:30.
Yep.
Every day.
That, I tell you what, it's exactly right. And the dorms, you weren't allowed to have there were no girls allowed. You got to remember, this is a Catholic college. There's a lot, and lights were out. Lights were out. They're supposed to be, at least.
At 10 o'clock at night, if you had got caught in a girl, it was a monetary fine. It wasn't like a slap on the wrist. It was a monetary fine. It was like $100 first time, $200, $300 for getting caught.
You pay the nuns for your sins.
Yeah, and then go to confession too.
Oh yeah. Jeremy just laughing like, what in the world? Well, I better wrap this up, guys. I could talk wrestling forever. We will visit again. Again, everybody watching out there, thank you. We had several people. I see 16 still watching now. Go down the bottom. You might be watching on Facebook. You might be watching on YouTube. Go down, subscribe, hit the bell. We're going to have a lot of shows. I'm trying to do 2 a week, Wednesdays and Sundays. If anybody wants to get on, I can have, instead of the 3 faces, I can have up to 6 people. There's other coaches. Contact me. We'll get you on. We'll visit some wrestling. Talk what's happening. Get over some results. This is a very big weekend for wrestling. Get out there and watch. Support your teams. Gotta love it, guys. It's awesome. It is wrestling season, and I want to thank Jeremy and John again for coming out tonight. This is great. We all got history, and surprisingly enough, we're all connected through this one way or another. Okay. Well, thank you, guys.
Thanks.
You betcha.
Jeremy, we'll see you in Brandon Valley.
Yes, we will. Have fun. Good luck till then.
We will see you both down in Aberdeen at the end of the season. Century will be down there too.
Sounds good. Thank you, John.
That's it. Take care, guys.
All right.
Have a good night. Take care.